This is your life at every level of a healthcare data analyst. Everything on this ladder is going to be based on my own career progression inside healthcare, going from a temp to a data analyst to a business analyst consultant at two healthcare companies nearly 15 years plus. I started typing lab results from faxes, and now I basically run a one-man dev shop inside a top Fortune 10 company in one of the top healthcare companies. And that last level that we're going to see inside this ladder, it doesn't have a name yet because I'm actively working on it with our changing world with AI. And I'm going to show you what that is also and what each level actually feels like and what I went through, the work, the traps, and then what it took to get to the next rung. Now let's jump to level 1, being a temp. So this level isn't on anyone's LinkedIn. It isn't something that people strive to, but this is what I ended up getting. This was in the 2008 financial crisis. Debt collectors were calling. My student loans had been deferred so many times, and I needed to make money. So I take anything that pays. So that's exactly what I did because I couldn't get a job doing anything else. I couldn't become a video game tester. I couldn't become an executive assistant. I couldn't become an assistant. It was so hard to just get any job. So what I ended up doing here was I was typing diabetic lab results from faxes and PDFs sent from medical offices. This would be for HEDIS screenings, basically quality measures that the health plan is looking at to make sure that members are compliant and they're being healthy. That's the scorecard system that health plans get graded on. Someone has to enter those results, and that someone was me. And it was so mind numbing that I had to hide the clock on my computer because just having it, the minutes would crawl. It was worse than just working, and it just made the days significantly longer. And this is also when I got into Audible and I got into podcast because that literally saved my workday because I could just focus and listen to podcasts while I was doing this. The tech at this level was none because this was pure data entry. And what I can't see yet is I landed in one department where data runs everything. Healthcare analytics found me, and I wasn't looking for it. And sometimes the right door disguises itself as a desperation move, but the exit ticket is being the person who does what needs doing and makes themselves look valuable and an asset to the company. And that's what made me permanent. Now let's move on to level 2. This is going to be the assistant level. This is another invisible level, but at least at this point, I'm permanent now. I'm the assistant to the data analyst. My department handles critical healthcare data that I didn't know were important processes that would be the foundational knowledge to help me get bigger and better jobs later. This handled risk adjustment, HCC coding, HEDIS, pay for performance. And at this point, I didn't really understand half of those words, but I'm learning as I go and I'm absorbing and trying to learn and gain as much knowledge as I can. And here's where the tech levels up. Excel, real Excel. These are functions that I need start living in my memory and they start becoming things that I can just naturally type. VLOOKUPs become my weapon for choice for comparing anything that needs comparing against anything else. And almost every analyst career starts exactly here, where you get to learn Excel at a deeper level. And even though I'm not an analyst yet, I'm starting to do operational roles and touch the data in ways that teaches me analytics skills and builds my healthcare experience at the same time. One of the things that people tend to ignore is where they're coming from, especially those who are inside healthcare or another business domain, is that it's transferable skills. Now that you get to learn the business, now you add your data analytics skills, and then now you can move internally. But the trap here is that invisible work can stay invisible unless your output is impossible to ignore. Nobody is going to see the assistant, but the assistant sees all the data, helps with what is needed. So your exit out of here is your output and your skills. And because I was hardworking, I had a tremendous output and I was a pleasure to work with. They promoted me and they promoted me again. Nobody sees the assistant, but the assistant sees everything and they get to work with the data. Your exit ticket out of here is your output. So what I did was I put my head down. I learned as much of the business as I could. I increased my Excel skills. I became more valuable. I worked hard and I was a pleasure to work with. And I stayed and I did what was needed. So what they did was they promoted me. Now, this brings us to level 3, which is the specialist role. Here, I became a health plan specialist. This is the level where I accidentally begin to build my unfair advantage. And here, I'm setting up benefit plans inside the system. It's not glamorous. Parts of it honestly feel like data entry still, but I'm inside the machine now and I'm learning. I'm learning how health plans actually work, the structure beneath every claim, every measure, every report that I get to analyze later. The tech, Excel plus a unique internal system and the setup that requires for our members, and then troubleshooting issues that come along. And then also very, very basic SQL, which was just basic loading into a data warehouse. Nothing fancy, but it was still what got my feet wet. And here's advice that I give to people, because this is a pattern that I only saw later. Almost any operational role that teaches you the business and you have access to data can be your bridge into a better analytics role, into a data analyst role. But at this point, things are moving a little bit slowly. The work is boring. So what ends up happening is I leave. My dream was to go into marketing, to work on campaigns, to be creative. I was a double major in marketing and public relations, and that's all I wanted to do. So one of the things that people don't account for is when they don't have experience. So at this period of time, I couldn't get hired as a marketing in any job in marketing because of the 2008 financial crisis and all the aftermath. So what I was doing on the side was I was working for free for small businesses to get the marketing experience that I needed so that I could eventually leave. And that's what ended up happening. I got enough marketing experience, I made connections, I was able to improve my portfolio and get more marketing skills. And then I chased the marketing dream job. I got to be the lead graphic designer at a health and beauty manufacturer. I got to create catalogs. I got to work Vegas trade shows where we would go out with vendors at clubs, and then we would be partying with all the vendors and all the different people that we would have to network with, and then wake up early the next morning, work the trade show, and then rinse and repeat. It was a crazy time. It was a fun time, and I'm glad I had the experience because I was getting paid basically to party with our distributors and with all my teammates and my coworkers. Then I got to work with the CMO, got to put in my creative touches with the various vendors and my input into what the models look like, what the design of the catalog was going to look like. And I was doing things that I never thought I'd be able to do. But I started to realize that I missed being technical. And in the middle of what I thought was my dream job, I realized I missed data analytics. So what I ended up doing was I went back, and I have the opportunity to go back, but back at a higher level. And what usually feels like a detour is usually equipment. And what I mean by that is it's skills that you get to learn and bring into your new role. I actually got to build various brochures and various marketing materials as the data analyst. What ended up happening was the data analyst that I worked on previously left for a better position. And then I got referred by a lot of the different directors and upper management. And then I accepted a new offer for level 4, which I became the data analyst. This is the typical title that everyone is chasing. But here is what nobody tells you about getting it. When I became a data analyst, then got promoted and became a data analyst tool. The title shows up because the levels 1 through 3. It was what I did previously in those roles, and it was all the hard work that I previously had to build. And it was the domain knowledge that got me the job and the relationships and the skills. It wasn't a certificate. And this is where the tech makes its real first big jump. Excel levels up a lot more, but now I'm learning about relational databases, queries, joins. I'm living in Access. I'm pulling data behind our performance and quality incentives. I'm learning about CMS stars, learning more deeply about what really risk adjustment is and how to pull the data and how to analyze it, because higher scores means higher bonuses from health plans. So my queries now have real business impact, but I'm drowning. And that drowning is what led to me figuring it out. This is where I start to learn more complex SQL joins and then start data mining inside a real data warehouse where I have to join and dig through a bunch of different tables to figure out how to combine the data to get what we actually need, and also how to improve and how to troubleshoot what the business and what executives and directors and managers need to make better business decisions. Now, a big opportunity happens. My current boss hates public speaking. So there are going to be these C-suite presentations that roll down to me, which is an opportunity for me to be able to present to medical directors, CFOs, CEOs in person at quarterly meetings and summits. Here, I'm terrified, but I say yes anyways because I want the opportunity to grow. And saying yes is how I become ready. But there's also the trap, because what happens after this? I get the experience, I get to network, and I get to learn from all of these different people, and I get to up my presentation skills. But at the same time, the opportunity becomes the trap because we got acquired. Now they're restructuring things. And instead of me working at our office, they decide to move things around. And instead of me being inside our local office, they want me to be part of a different medical group. They want me to move further. And it's going to be literally 3 hours in traffic further. So loyalty doesn't protect you from a restructure. And what ends up happening is there is a VP that I meet at the new company that they want to place me in. And that VP told me that he tells his team to apply an interview at least twice a year, even when you're happy, because this allows him to get the leverage and the facts and the data that he needs to give them the raises and the promotions that they deserve. And if they can't give it to them, he wants them to take the opportunities outside to further grow their career and know the value that they have out there. And he tells me that I have a lot more power and say in what I want to do. So what I ended up doing was I took his advice because I didn't want to travel that far. And this was my exit ticket out. I had the experience, I had the technical skills now. And this was my first external move. And I applied to where I'm at currently at a top Fortune 10 healthcare company. And this brings us to level 5, which is the senior analyst. But at this point, going from a data analyst 2 to a business analyst doesn't seem like, it seems more like a lateral move, but it was an increase in pay. It was at a higher company, and it feels like it's the same rung, but it felt more like a senior analyst role. The work for me got a lot more technical, not less. And they hired me specifically for my access automation. And then day one, they had me build a Word VBA app that killed a manual formatting process before lunch. And I had never coded in VBA previously. This was completely new to me. And this was me diving into it, learning about automation, and then figuring it out. And this is where I meet one of the biggest mentors that affected my technical skills and how I started to build and become one of the more technical people on the team. This was a senior BA at the time who, whatever he did, looked like he was doing magic. He was referred to as a wizard and a magician, and he called himself a smart, lazy person. And watching him, the tech at this level exploded for me because I didn't know what was possible. He was creating things in Access and Excel that I didn't know was possible with what was required and the skill sets and the demands from users. This was VBA, this was coding, this was deep custom work, full data pipelines, full applications built in Excel and Access designed for actual users. But when you move into a bigger role, you have greater business impact. But there is one thing that happened that still sticks to me this day. There was a error that traced back to one of my automated processes, and then I ran every sub-process validation inside this database, and then I was convinced that I cost the company millions of dollars. And my manager and the other manager across the hallway came over because it looked like I was freaking out. But it turns out, luckily, it was an upstream data issue and it wasn't my fault, but the terror was real anyways because I looked through everything and the error had passed through my validations. Now, this is where I start to up my validations, start to learn how to work with a big internal client, because you have to be able to justify your decisions. You have to be able to show the work. You have to show your validations. And at this time, my mentor leaves. I'm already starting to do similar work. I'm starting to do and take over different processes from him. And because I'm already doing senior level work, the senior analyst title comes next. So I become a senior business analyst. And now at this point, I'm becoming significantly more technical than I ever had been. I'm starting to level up my SQL. I'm starting to do a lot more coding. I'm starting to work with users on more complex tasks and higher business impact. This is where we get to level 6. This is level 6 where I become promoted to a business analyst consultant. This is going to be the level where the job description and what I actually do on the job don't match anymore. The real job and what I'm actually doing is I meet with stakeholders, I gather requirements. I'm also the person who designs the solution, the applications, and I'm coding. I build tools, I fix bugs, I release updates, I'm supporting users, and I'm repeating this indefinitely. A full development lifecycle compressed into one person. On the tools that I support, into the teams that I support, and the users, I am the lead developer. I am the data engineer. Sometimes I'm the only developer. Is it ideal? No, but it's powerful because I get to learn a lot and I become irreplaceable within the company, especially with the various teams and users that I support and business processes that I'm actively and directly improving. The tech now becomes a lot more technical. I'm doing data engineer work at an analyst cost. So think Excel access upfront on legacy systems, but also SQL Server on the back end as it's needed, legacy tools rebuilt into full applications and pipelines when applicable, and then the projects change dynamically as well. And at this point, I'm also moved to a more formal analytics team that is technically an IT team on the business side so that we can move more agile. We're a small agile technical group, but then we have something that interrupts my work and was one of the reasons why this channel was created. There is an earthquake called AI. A couple years ago, I was building something that was very complex in VBA. It was things that would take me days. So this would be the old school way of Googling, looking at my existing code base, looking at Stack Overflow, asking in forums, testing, breaking it, testing again, coding some more by hand. And then we get access to ChatGPT and Copilot. Then I describe it to ChatGPT. And then when I describe it to ChatGPT, it gives me the output and it's 90% of the way there. And then I got it working with various iterations in an hour. This was something that took me days. Now it only took me an hour. And this was the time where I remembered I need to adapt and learn AI or I'm going to get replaced by people who know AI at a faster and a greater level. So that fear is why this channel exists and why I created it. So what I did now is going to be level 7. Level 7 is adapt or get replaced, which I don't have a title on this rung yet because I'm actively working on it because the opportunities of learning AI and then progressing into a variety of new roles is exciting and the opportunity is here. But here is how I'm adapting. Today, AI does a majority of my execution and my hand-by-hand coding. I validate the output. I do the heavy lifting within technical specifications, learning architecture, learning better design. I know what the application is doing so that as I build it and we scale, that AI doesn't go out of hand because AI can give you significantly more code, but then you can start to lose sight of what your application does and start to not understand what you're building. And I'm starting to build heavily in AI. I'm AWS AI practitioner certified. I built my own AI agent frameworks. And on paper, I'm already doing the work of a senior business analyst consultant and even AI varied analyst roles. But I'm working harder to implement AI into various applications that I'm building and to learn the skill sets so that I have massive opportunity in front of me. The work is going to come first because that's going to lead into the experience. It's going to lead into the proof and the projects that can go onto my resume. And then I'll look at the title after. So here is a tech ladder of the various skills that I had to learn to get to where I'm at currently and where I'm going to progress further. So I just wanted to show you that the journey to becoming a data analyst can be messy. It might not be your ideal path, but you take whatever path and opportunities present itself and open up those doors, work hard, and then you can get to the goals and go beyond it and then take advantage of the opportunity that you have in front of you. Real quick, I want to give you the exact roadmap I built for breaking into healthcare analytics. Every stage from a complete beginner to a working analyst and beyond. I've lived this path for nearly 15 years. I've sat on the other side of the hiring table across multiple recruitment cycles, so I can tell you with confidence what each stage is, what being stuck at that stage feels like, and more importantly, the exact steps to move you to the next step. The skills, the portfolio, the resume, the interview, all of it, and it's my gift to you completely free. Links in the description below, or just go to getadatajob.com/roadmap. Enter your email and we'll send it to you right away.